Chapter 7. The Curse of the Dark Mist Forest, the Rabbit and the Orphanage. The moonlight was as sharp as a scalpel, laying bare Jack's wound with startling clarity. His blood congealed in a most eerie manner under the moon's glow, as if time itself had been halted by some arcane force. The dark red liquid scabbed over at a visible pace, like enchanted magma, spreading out in a web of cracks across his linen shirt. Sadie gently placed her fingers on Jack's abdominal wound. It felt cold and rigid to the touch. The arterial blood that should have gushed forth was now, as if under an evil spell, solidified into dark red coral, exuding an otherworldly beauty.
How could this be? Everyone, come quick and take a look!
Sadie exclaimed in alarm.
What's going on?
Danny asked.
Look, Jack's blood has actually clotted.
Sadie said as she traced the patterns left by the coagulated blood.
It's incredible.
The members of the expedition team were stunned, for they had never witnessed such a strange phenomenon before.
He needs surgery,
said the man with the monocle as he approached, his voice low and composed. Sadie's eyes fell on his monocle, and the moonlight reflecting off the lens reminded her of an old photograph of her grandfather. In the group photo taken at Andersonville Prisoner of War Camp in 1864, a Union Army medic wearing a monocle was using silver tweezers to extract a bullet from a wounded soldier. He had a crescent-shaped scar on his left earlobe.
You? I feel like I've seen you somewhere before.
Sadie said.
I'm Carter Hawk. You might have heard of this name if your grandfather ever talked about me.
The man with the monocle took out a lancet from his medical kit. The blade glinted coldly in the moonlight. Whiskey was poured over Jack's wound to disinfect it, and blue flames flared up instantly. The man pushed aside Jack's shirt and skillfully wielded the knife, cutting open the wound and using tweezers to remove the bullet. When the second deformed lead bullet was taken out of Jack's body, Sadie heard a broken moan in her ears, the very sound her father had made before he passed away. Sadie was jolted by this sound, and for some reason, a dull ache welled up in her heart.
Forceps.
Carter's voice snapped Sadie back to reality. She then realized that her hands were trembling, and Jack's blood, caked under her fingernails, had turned dark brown. Outside the tent, Old Bill's heavy cough could be heard. This tough man, who had once snapped a rattlesnake's neck with his bare hands, was now leaning against a cactus and vomiting. In order to stop Jack's bleeding, he had sucked the poisoned blood out of the wound with his mouth. Danny walked over slowly, carrying the last can of kerosene in his arms. One of his arms was wrapped in a bandage, and the wound was still oozing pus.
Mrs. Emily is here.
Sadie heard the sound of boots scraping against the rocks. The woman who always played the violin at dusk was now wearing a shawl adorned with silver bells. The moonlight sparkled like stars on her turquoise necklace. Emily crouched down and gently ran her fingertips over the curse mark under Jack's left eye, from which a faint golden light was emanating.
The eye of the gods is summoning him,
she said with a hint of mystery in her voice.
His time is running out. Carter, take him to the emergency room later. It looks like he'll be laid up there for a while.
Emily said.
Hey, you guys, come and give a hand.
Mrs. Emily called out to several of her subordinates. Several strong men immediately stepped forward, helped Jack onto a horse carefully, and then led the horse towards the town.
Can he be saved?
Sadie asked with a sob in her voice.
It's very difficult, but there might be something we can try. If you're willing to.
Emily took out a charred sheepskin book from her shawl. The cactus spines on the cover were still stained with blood.
This is the manuscript of a Spanish missionary from 1776. The blood of the Rabbit King in the dark mist forest has the power to reverse life and death, but it requires the tears of a close kin,
she said, looking at Sadie, whose eyelashes were still wet with tears.
The dark mist forest is located to the northwest of the town. It's not too far away, but hardly anyone goes there because it's well known that almost no one who enters ever comes out alive. People say that the forest can swallow people whole, and it's shrouded in a thick layer of fog both day and night. Those who know its history mostly believe that it's the lingering resentment of the war dead, which has never faded away.
Has anyone ever come out alive?
Danny asked, clutching a Virgin Mary medal in his hand. Sam unsheathed his katana in the moonlight. This taciturn samurai had been staring at the mark of the dark mist forest on the map for a long time and finally spoke.
10 years ago, I led a caravan into the forest, and only 3 of us made it out alive.
His left cheek twitched.
I'm not opposed to going, but besides the blood of the Rabbit King, we also need the tears of Jack's relatives. As everyone knows, his father is missing. So, where can we find the tears of his relatives now?
Danny said, looking at the others.
You just focus on getting the blood of the Rabbit King. As for the tears of his relatives, I'll figure something out. Kid, are you brave enough to go? There's no need to risk your life for someone you don't know well.
Emily said, looking at Danny with a complicated expression in her eyes.
Who says I'm not brave? We're a team. It's just...
Danny looked at his injured arm and smiled awkwardly.
Don't worry, Danny. This time, I'll back you up. Just use your gun with your other hand.
Sam drew his katana, and it glinted coldly in the moonlight.
That's great. Sam is not only an expert but also has been there before and is familiar with the situation inside. With his help, we're sure to get the blood of the Rabbit King.
Sadie said.
Are you going too? It's a forest in there, and it's not as easy to ride a horse as on the sandy terrain here.
Danny tried to dissuade her.
Anyway, I'm definitely going. I have my reasons, and it's not just for Jack.
Sadie pleaded. Old Bill suddenly laughed, and his laughter shook the dewdrops off the cactus.
I want to see for myself whether the Rabbit King is tougher or my fists are.
He picked up his double-barreled shotgun, and the 1849, engraved on the barrel, glowed faintly in the moonlight, the year he participated in the Mexican-American War. The next morning, as the first light of dawn appeared in the east, the expedition team got ready to set off. Old Bill slung his double-barreled shotgun over his shoulder. The barrel, polished to a shine, glinted coldly in the morning light. He took out a wad of tobacco from his waist, skillfully rolled a cigar, and took a firm bite. The strong smell of tobacco mingled with the aroma of coffee filled the air. Sam placed his katana horizontally on his back, and the chrysanthemum pattern on the tsuba shimmered in the sunlight. He carefully inspected the scabbard to make sure the blade wouldn't be damaged on the journey. As the team was about to set out, Emily stuffed a can of pickled blueberries into Sadie's pocket.
Pick the ones with a white frost on them. The dew in the dark mist forest makes the blueberries incredibly sweet.
The clay pot of Carter gave off a jasmine fragrance, which was exactly the same as the scent of Sadie's grandmother's handkerchief before she died.
Your grandfather also carried 3 jars of belladonna ointment with him back then,
Carter said. At the entrance of the dark mist forest, withered century plants were twined around human bone road signs, and each skull's eye socket was inlaid with a blue crystal. Sam suddenly pressed down on Old Bill's shotgun barrel.
Do you hear that?
There was a faint sound of the violin mixed in the wind. Emily was playing the cradle song of death with her human bone crutch in the camp, and the melody matched Jack's heartbeat.
You guys go ahead first.
Carter suddenly crouched down and sliced open his palm with a scalpel. Blood droplets rolled towards the eye socket of a certain skull. The blue crystal suddenly lit up, and the fog parted to reveal a path of blood. Sadie saw the tattoo on the back of his neck, the outline of the dark mist forest, with the center marked April 13th, 1873, the day the gold went missing. Old Bill pointed the barrel of his shotgun at Carter's temple.
Who the hell are you?
The same as you, accursed road marker.
Carter said with a smile, wiping away the blood and revealing the bullet scars under his suit, 3 on his left chest and 2 on his right abdomen, exactly the same shape as the bullets that had just been removed from Jack.